Man, I love Hexen. Listen dudes, I've been playing Doom for a while. I grew up on playing Doom on the SNES, yeah, and playing on the shareware versions for Doom, Hexen, Heretic, and all that on the web. And then I joined Skulltag back in 2009, and I've been playing Doom online with people to this day. So maybe you think this video may not be what my audience is used to, but joke's on you, I don't have an audience. So for the uninitiated, Hexen is the sequel to Heretic, although you could also argue that Heretic 2 is the sequel to Heretic, but regardless. It was released back in 1995 by Raven Software. These guys made some cool games, man, but now they're just stuck with Activision. It's a shameful story, man, it sucks. These games were both made in the Doom engine. Heretic played very similarly to Doom, but Hexen tried a lot of different things, and everyone hates Hexen. I remember being shocked that people didn't like Hexen, like what gives, am I the only one? Well, grab your flechettes and your quartz potions, and be ready to die, mortal, and let's play some Hexen. Oh! What am I doing? Free look mouse? Open GL? The elitists will never take me seriously. Decent resolution. Slightly improved graphics. And no, it can't be. Oh, okay. It's not that bad. I gotta change this. I can't live like this. Alright guys, let's play some Hexen. SpaceySoundy. So quick rundown of the story, because I think it's pretty cool. There's these three powerful bad dudes named the Serpent Riders. Desparrow, Corax, and Eidolon. Only one of them actually rides a serpent. Anyways, back in Heretic, the main character Corvus slapped Desparrow, known to be the weakest of the Serpent Riders, but also rumored to be the hottest, which isn't true because Eidolon is. Hey, that nipple ring is a fashion statement. Each of the Serpent Riders took control of a different dimension. Hexen takes place several thousand years after Heretic, in the dimension known as Kronos. Humanity here has learned just how powerful magic is, and has formed an extremely strict order around this. If you don't have any magic, then you are just useless scum ruled by the magically inclined. The order is split into three different organizations, led by Zetic, Menelkir, and Traductus. They only cared for themselves and their statuses, and Corax easily recruited them and gave them great power. And then basically all of humanity was screwed.
What a bunch of dumbasses.
They've been doomed ever since they lost the ability to love. But three dudes managed to survive, which are our player characters. Baratus the warrior, Parius the cleric, Daedalon the mage. They go out to stop their masters and destroy Corax. Pretty awesome, right? These three player characters all play differently. The main changes between the characters are their weapons and a slight change to the level design. There's some other stuff regarding armor classes, but nobody cares. All classes have 4 weapons. Hexen only has 2 different types of ammo, blue mana and green mana. Your starting weapon takes no ammo, your second weapon uses blue, your third weapon uses green, and your fourth weapon uses both. Baratus, being the warrior, is seen more as the melee class. He starts out with punching gauntlets, then he gets an axe, a hammer that can be used as a projectile too, and the Quietus, a dope powerful flaming sword that always kind of looked like a chainsaw to me. The flame saw, baby. What's cool about Baratus is that even when he runs out of ammo, he can still use his weapons, just as a physical attack, so ammo isn't as big as a concern for him. My man's Parius, the cleric, is a mix between the two, having both melee and long-ranged attacks. Maybe it wasn't intentional, but Parius came from the church organization, which was sort of like the middleman between the other two organizations. I don't know, that's a pretty neat detail. Anyways, his starting weapon is a pretty crappy mace. If you want to play him on the harder difficulties, you're going to have to get good with this weapon. I think it's the worst out of the starting weapons, but it outranges most melee enemies. His blue mana weapon is the sweet as hell Serpent Staff. It shoots 2 projectiles and has a melee attack up close that drains the enemy's health, healing you. This is probably going to be your main weapon as Parius. His green mana weapon is the Firestorm. He shoots out a flame that sticks out for a while. It's strong, I suppose. I like using it against the centaurs with the shield, as it can't be reflected. His ultimate weapon is the Wraith Verge, which, I'm inclined to believe this is the best weapon in the game. It destroys everything, even bosses die in about 10 seconds from it. Just don't get it reflected. Now my homie Daedalon the Mage. His starting weapon, the Sapphire Wand, is my favorite. It's the only long-range starting weapon, which also means it's the only long-range weapon that doesn't cost mana. It also pierces through enemies, so it's like a baby railgun. His blue mana weapon is the Frost Shards, a large blast of ice magic. I hate this weapon. I mean, it has its uses, but freezing enemies is annoying because they just get in the way. Give this man a mighty boot. And I don't know, man, it just feels weak. It has a melee hitbox too, which is pretty funny. You def putting the hands on these dudes.
Stop it. Get some help.
His green mana weapon is the Arc of Death. It's a lightning bolt that travels across the ground and can home in on enemies, shocking them for a while. Compared to the Frost Shard, this weapon is awesome. Decent power too. And his final weapon is the Blood Scourge. This might be my favorite ultimate weapon. It's like a triple homing rocket launcher. It's powerful, but probably not as good as the other characters' ultimate weapons. Finally, each class has an inventory item known as the Flashette. Hexen has quite a number of inventory items, much like Heretic, but the Flashette is one of the ones that you'll be using the most. It's a green flask, and depending on which class you pick, it gets used differently. Barutus lobs the darn thing like a grenade, which for a while is really the only ranged option with him. It kinda sucks because it doesn't go far and the arc is weird, but it can be used to spike flying enemies. Parius low-key got the Bertholite canister from Whodunit. His explodes in his face into a poison cloud that can stunlock nearly every enemy and deals a ton of damage. It's probably the best flask, and I use them against the shielded centaurs a lot. I always wondered about the sound these guys make when they take damage. It's noticeable when they get hit by the flask. I don't know, man. This just sounds like dogs whining to me. Weird. Daedalon takes a page from my homie Corvus and just uses the flask as a time bomb. Good if the enemies are chasing you, but I kinda just see it as a weaker version of Parius' flask. Just be warned that the Flashette can damage you as well, which can really sting if you're trapped in a corner as Parius. So I know what you're thinking. That's it? Yeah, your playthrough will only involve having 4 weapons. I don't have a problem with that really. And I'm the guy who loves playing randomizers and crazy mobs with 500 weapons. Because these weapons are unique. So many other FPS games around the time all had the archetype weapons that started from Doom. The pistol equivalent, the shotgun equivalent, the rocket launcher. Raven made an effort to have a weapon selection that could stand on its own, that wasn't just Doom. Speaking of that, we got the levels. I chose Parius on my playthrough on the UV difficulty. Why? Well, his weapons are cool as hell, and he's hot as hell. I got a thanks for Night Dudes, man. In other words, I like his Serpent Staff, and I like his Serpent Staff. Daedalon's a cutie too, though, I won't lie. I also played through with a high-res texture mod and Xeotroid's music mod. This guy does some amazing music, man. I like his instruments, and he puts his music out in WADs. He covers a ton of different Doom WADs. Check out his work on the Heretic and Chex soundtrack. It's pretty great stuff. Links in the description, man. Also, the mantis is cute. You could say I'm killing the vanilla flavor of Hexen, but I've played this game a dozen times. I don't care. And if we're being honest, I usually don't play Hexen vanilla anyways, but we'll get to that. Hexen is interesting. Besides the first and the last levels are typically split into hub areas, where you start in a central level that splits into other levels. The idea is that you constantly go back and forth between levels, doing one thing that causes changes in the other levels or finding a key in one level that is for another level. And now for the reason most people hate Hexen. This game is arguably a puzzle game, just a big old puzzle game. Some maps are just giant wastelands you constantly have to go through back and forth. It doesn't really tell you where to go. It's open in a way, and I can appreciate that. The problem is that this game invented switch hunting. There are plenty of times you just pick up an item or flip a switch and have no idea what it did. Sometimes you need to walk past a certain point or kill enemies to progress. It's non-linear, but you constantly feel like you're doing something wrong. My biggest advice is, if you feel like you've done all you could in a sub-level, return to the hub and check out the other levels. Starting off, we got the first hub level, the 7 portals. It sucks. Arguably the worst part of the game, and it's just the beginning. I don't know. Maybe it's because I played through this part a ton. Also, I think it's the easiest part to get lost in. It doesn't even have a boss at the end. Only cool thing about it is that it's the only part of the game you fight these enemies called Wendigos in. And the secret level that can be found, the Bright Crucible, yeah, it's got my favorite song in the game. It's awesome. Next, welcome to Shadowwood, homie. If you made it this far, give yourself a pat on the dick, because you've already made it farther than 50% of the people that play this game. The wastelands feel like a giant maze. The caves are kinda hidden away in a BS spot. The thing about Hexen, guys, it's like, you know when you open a wall or something in Doom and hey, that's a secret. Cool, man. Well, in Hexen, what you think would be a secret area, it's actually just the way to go. The game gets slightly better at telling you where you should go, but it's still kinda messy. Also, be prepared to get spit roasted by these muscled mermen dudes. No water is safe. The boss of this area is the Death Wyvern. There's an item you can get that lets you summon a Molotov from Heretic, and I tried to get him to fight the boss, but it didn't work. This fight is pretty cool though. You grab an item that lets you fly, and then you just have this sick air battle with the Wyvern. It's awesome, man. Hub 3. Heresiarch Seminary. This is the best part of the game, guys. It starts with you entering this chapel and getting jumped by these bishop homies. You go around collecting a bunch of gems named after planets. Guys, if I ever end up as a porn star, I'm gonna call myself Ruby Planet. Anyways, after getting all the gems, 3 portals open up, allowing you to go to the layers under the dragon, wolf, and griffin. You can freely go wherever you want, and doing things in one area changes the other. It's all contained nicely, and you can see which areas you haven't found the switches in yet by looking at this wall. This is Hexen at its best, man. After all that, you fight the Heresiarch. This fight is kinda cool. He casts all these different spells, but it's mostly just waiting around for his shield to go away. I can see what they were going for, but it's kinda boring. It doesn't matter though, because I just used the Wraith Verge before he can even do anything. Gonna hit you guys with a brief interruption real quick. I hate these guys. This has to be the toughest enemy in the game. He blocks everything, and later on he gets a variant known as the Centaur Leader or Slaughterer that shields and shoots insanely fast projectiles. This guy could single-handedly take down Korax. Get him, homie! Yeah, okay, maybe not. Hub 4, Castle of Grief. It looks cool, even if most of your time is spent running around the castle flipping switches. It's not that hard to navigate, and it's got some cute traps, like this bed that squishes you. Hexen has a lot of traps, guys. Pitfalls that instantly kill you, and crushers aplenty. Anyways, the end of this hub is kinda broken. You're supposed to kill these enemies and then more enemies show up. but if you kill the enemies too fast, the game breaks. This happens every time I play through this game too. Save before this part or just no clip through to the walls and kill these bishops. Also, the Heresiarch is here again. Okay. Final hub of the game! Woo! Necropolis is kinda painful. You get demolished by 5 million of these ghost enemies named Wraiths as you run into these buildings like it's pouring outside. The goal here is to take down the 3 leaders of the order I mentioned before, Zedek, Traductor, and Menokir. You go into their tome and they start wave dashing around like bots and then die instantly. Cool. Some of the tomes have some pretty neat gimmicks at least. Okay, time to stop dicking around. Let's fight Korax. Oh man, this is gonna be crazy. This dude has been plotting destruction for thousands of years. This won't be easy. Oh, okay. Hey Eidolon, who you playing chess with, buddy? Call me on the weekend. I can get some games in with you if you want. You know, they call these guys serpent riders, but like, Korax just looks like a serpent. Maybe someone rides him, you know? Heretics seem to hint that Heresiarch was going to be the serpent rider. Maybe he is, and Korax was his serpent, right? Hey man, after thousands of years, relationships don't last forever, you know? This is the real story of Hexen, a power struggle between ex-boyfriends. That's Korax's ultimate weakness. He should have fought me with his homie. That's why Korax was easier to kill than Heresiarch. It's like how D-Sparrow is harder when he loses his serpent, or something like that. What I'm trying to say is Korax was said to be stronger than D-Sparrow, but the fight was so much easier because he wasn't with his rider. Remember what I said at the beginning of the video? These two were doomed ever since they lost the ability to love. Hexen is a game about love, guys. Anyways, that's Hexen. I like Hexen, but I can understand why people don't. This is kind of a guide game. It's one of those games that's a lot better on a second playthrough. People like Heretic a lot more because it's just Doom, but I can appreciate Hexen for trying to not be like Doom. I didn't get to mention this earlier, but I find most fantasy settings to be kinda boring. I really like Hexen's setting though. It's that dark fantasy vibe I really enjoy. It's like an apocalypse fantasy. Really cool aesthetic. Speaking of cool aesthetics, I really need to get to that one Hexen mod, Scattered Evil. This mod looks cool. Speaking of mods, I mentioned the way I typically play Hexen is not vanilla. Dudes, let me tell you about Wrath of Kronos. Hell yeah! If you ever want to play through Hexen with more classes, enemies, weapons, and an RPG level up and skill point system, this is it. I know you vanilla heads are shaking your heads and making multiple accounts to dislike and flag this video to get me off the site, but Wrath of Kronos is cool. It even works with other mods besides Hexen like Doom. And look, there's so many different flasks. Guys, I'll be honest, I have a flask fetish. It's dope. So is Wrath of Kronos the best way to play Hexen? I don't know, that's up to you. It's how I like to play through Hexen nowadays. Only problem with these RPG mods for Doom is that you realize you spend a lot of time looking at menus rather than playing the game. Hexen didn't necessarily need monster and weapon variety either. What people didn't like about Hexen was the level design. Man, with just a few changes to some text with flipping switches, I really feel like people wouldn't hate on Hexen so much. Give me a modern dark fantasy game like Hexen with a rocking pagan metal soundtrack to go with it. That would be awesome, man. That's what Hexen reminds me of, you know? Most modern fantasy games are either medieval with dragons and maybe magic, or crazy future magic titty girls. Give me runes, demons with cults, just a crazy world on the verge of destruction with society and order breaking as everyone fends for themselves. Red hellish skies. That's the thing, man. Look at Game of Thrones, it's so boring. I just see blues and grays, cool colors over warm colors. What a visual bore. You can be colorful without sacrificing the mood. When I think of Hexen, I think of red skies, the colorful spells, cool as hell, man. Or maybe warm as hell because the colors are. You know, playing Hexen reminds me, there's another underrated fantasy FPS out there. One I've been meaning to play for a long time. Next time, guys. Next time. But for now, that's that for that. I'll catch you guys another day, someday. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to check out the links in the description. I'm making a game myself. The account is still on hiatus, but I'm still working hard on it, I promise. It's gonna be a bit before my next review, but I might get some silly highlight videos out, and I plan on starting a new series soon. Take care.